Hey, I saw dudes. I saw dudes. What's up, guys? Thanks for being here and watching this one. So this is a Forza 7 video. Have not raced this game in a while. I don't even know how long, honestly. I think probably only once in the last like month or two. And so this was just, I don't know, I wanted to play it. Felt like racing and just got a little bored with the Call of Duty, and so I decided to just race and came in here and started racing. So I'm going to skip over some of the stuff that I did because I came in here and I had a ton of messages which I had to clear. And then I had a bunch of messages about like new car packs, and I have not kept up with this game at all. But I saw a ridiculous, there's like 7 or 8 car packs, and each of them have like 15 cars. So there's an insane amount of cars that they've added. And I just kind of skipped over those. I did get some free ones, which I skipped over. But right here, I'm just trying to figure out what's going on with these Rivals events. I decided I wanted to try a Rivals event, and so I just was checking that right there, and I thought that's perfect. Rental only stock, so I'm going to try this thing with the Lola. Now, I thought it wasn't really paying attention. I thought the Lola was the one that I'm used to, which is the like Formula 1, the more prototype Lola, which competed similarly with like the McLaren M8B, which I used to drive a lot. Anyway, but I saw that and I was like, yeah, let's give this a try and see how it goes. So this is my first time racing in, like I said, I don't even know how long, a while. And so it's been so long that, you know, you get that sort of like feeling like you don't know how to play it. And so I was worried about the clutch, and I thought, you know, maybe I'll take the clutch off and I'll just run with regular manual. But I thought, you know what, I'll try it with the clutch first and see how it goes. And I'm glad I left it because it wasn't that bad. So it's kind of like muscle memory, you know. I'm going to be quiet for a second and let this car speak for itself real quick. As you can see, I grassed it there, and a little timid coming into the corners. That was terrible. And it took me a couple of laps to sort of get the feel back. I mean, you know, generally, oh, see right there? It's something I've struggled with this game for a while. When you use the clutch, you know, there's this state you get into when you're racing. You know, it's not like a normal video game in a lot of ways. It's a lot like, you know, I compare it a lot to like Destiny when I was doing a raid in there, because you can't just like go in and sort of casually play. You have to be super hyper aware. And at least with this game, it happens to me so much that when I'm driving and I shift, sometimes it doesn't shift immediately. As soon as I let off the button, it hasn't shifted. And I think to myself, wow, maybe it didn't register the press. And so I'll shift again. And by the time I hit the shift a second time, it shifts twice. So, like, that's like a split second of time we're talking about. But I'm so, like, enveloped in the game that you actually... I shift once and go, man, it hasn't shifted yet. What the heck? Maybe I missed the button. And then I shift again. And by the time I've done that twice and had that whole thought process, then it shifts. So it's really weird. And I never had that problem before. I don't know if it's just this game or if it's just the clutch. Because I didn't use the clutch in the last few games. But it just seems really like it's so delayed. And like I said, I mean, it's a split second. But when you're in that moment, it feels like forever. It's just like, what is happening right now? And then you double shift, and by the time you hear it double shift and you try to downshift again, you've already lost all your, you know, momentum from trying to stay in the power band and stuff. So it's just, anyway, frustrating, but that's what that was. So it takes me, I'd say maybe another lap after this, or second lap after this, to sort of get the feel of it. But I ended up beating this rival, and ended up doing pretty well. And so I just thought it was worthy to bring, and it was actually a super fun car to drive. It actually handled really intuitively. The thing I love about these race car classes, like, I've never been much for the lower classes, and the reason for that is because these type of classes, and I was surprised because this thing is from 1969, but you know, these classes, the car's very intuitive. Like, the car does what you want it to do. That's what I loved about the race classes. And, you know, even back to like Forza 2 days, these were called race class, like R1, R2, R3, those type of things. Now they're just, you know, all in a certain class. But, like, you know, there's a difference between driving like a, you know, you'll see the next race that I do is with a Koenigsegg Regera, which is a totally different animal because it's just a single speed transmission. There's no shifting involved, which is very, very strange. But it's one of those cars. Now, I didn't research this, so don't take this as complete gold. But I remember reading or hearing that it was, it's like a hybrid supercar basically, and so it doesn't need any more than a single speed because the electric motors pretty much generate all the torque immediately, and then the power comes on later. And that's the whole reason why a car has gearing, is so that you can turn the power into actual driving forward. Like if you think about riding a bicycle and you're riding like a 10-speed bicycle, if you start on the 10th speed, which is the highest speed, you're not going to be able to start pedaling. It's going to be so hard to pedal that you're barely going to be moving. So what you do is you start in a lower gear, like 1 or 3 or something, and as you start going faster, if you imagine trying to go as fast as you can on the first gear, you'll be pedaling so fast that your legs are going to fly off and you're not going to go anywhere really, because you're not going to be going very fast. So that's why a bicycle has gears like that. That's why a car has gears like that, so that you can cycle through them and get from a standstill to, very high speed. And so anyway, the Regera is just a single-speed car. And so what you'll see when I drive that thing is it's very much different than this car, because this is a race car. I'm assuming it's a Le Mans type car. Knowing what I know about these cars in this generation and the Ford GT and all those different cars. But, when you drive a car like that, even though it's a Koenigsegg Regera, it's a supercar, it goes 200-something miles an hour, which is faster than this thing can go. The brakes are not there, and the handling is not there, because it's not an actual race car. It's a hypercar, but even a hypercar is not a race car. So, a race car, and see, that was my first sort of mess up there. And, that's a good thing, actually, because that means I'm pushing it harder. I'm getting more comfortable with the car, and I'm pushing it harder, and that's sort of, I pushed it a little bit past the limit, which is a learning experience. I won't do that again, although actually I will do it again. Spoiler alert. But I was starting to get a feel for the car here, and you can tell I'm getting a little bit better, and I'm actually ahead of the Ghost now for a while. I don't really know how good this time was at this Ghost set. I didn't really race against anyone in particular. I just went, because I don't know, what I can do. I didn't know how this car was going to handle, how I was going to drive, or whatever. But basically you just want to go lap on lap improvements. You want to improve each time you go, and each lap you can push it a little bit harder through certain spots, and you can figure out exactly how much harder you can push it. And I think this is not the good one. See, I missed my sort of entry there, and I end up exiting okay, but this right-hander right here is one of my favorite turns in all of Forza racing. Just this back straight, and I didn't do a good job at it at all there. I had to lift off pretty fatty, and then kind of almost went off there on the exit. But it was very intuitive. That's why I love these race cars. You can hop into most of these race cars, even in these categories. Even a car from 1969, I can hop right in it, and it basically handles exactly how I want it to. What I mean by that is you can come in and push it really hard, and the car basically does what I want it to do, how I want it to do it. And so what it is just like a learning process of feeling it out for a couple of laps, and especially when you haven't raced in a while, you sort of kick the rust off and just get going with it. And it was working well. And I'm still experimenting with the shifting too, of course. This game is accurate down to the power band. Maybe not in real life necessarily, but it's accurate to the power band in this game that they portray, so you can't necessarily always shift at the same point with different cars. I loved pushing it all the way to the red line, but that's not always the case. With some cars, you don't get a lot of power doing that in some cars, so with this car, it was also, much better exit. It's still a little wide, tiny bit wider than I would like to, but I mean, we're talking about a fraction of a second worth of gas there, because that's a real, basically what this is like aiming for a really small angle at a long distance. So it's basically like, equivalent to if you were sniping, for example, or shooting a long distance bullet shot, you're only going to move your gun just a hair, and it's going to equate to, feet downrange. So in this case, you're talking about just a fraction of a second of either getting on the gas slightly earlier or slightly later, or even how much gas I feather on the way out, and that's going to it's going to translate into maybe a foot, maybe a couple feet on the exit of the turn. So, of course, these are like subtleties that you don't get unless you race every single day for long periods of time. So not racing for months, and even before that I wasn't racing every single day, so definitely going to take a lot of time to sort of get those back down. But that's why I race a bunch of laps. See, like there, entry was off, speed was too much, got back on the gas too early, and that equals a terrible turn. And then same for that. You can see the back's floating a little bit. I had to lift off. Wasn't going full speed. So just, you know, some sloppy driving for sure. But, you know, it's 4th lap. You know, cut me a break. So I ended up correcting it and doing pretty well. And it was super fun. And I'm mad that I don't race more often. But you know what? I don't know. I mean, that's just what I've wanted to do. See, that was terrible. So this was fun. I wanted to race. I got back on here and did it. I set a pretty decent time. I can't tell you exactly where I ranked. I don't remember. But I set a pretty decent time, and then I was loving it so much that I actually went and raced the Regera, like I said, the Koenigsegg Regera, and raced that on Road Atlanta Club, which is one of my favorite tracks. I love Road America. I love this track a lot, but this was like a track that I hated. It was a free track that they gave us in Forza 5 as like an add-on DLC, and it was free. See, so much better there. Way better entry, and I was able to get on the gas way earlier, and way better exit because of it. Now I want to slow down a little bit too much, but see, you tag that inside rumble, and I was a little shaky coming into that one, so I didn't end up taking the right exit and gassing it as hard as I could on the way out. But as you see there, I'm plus 0.015, so, you know, less than 1/10 of a second behind my last time. Actually, 1/10 of a tenth, but this thing is sweet, huh? But so they gave it as a free track, and I didn't like it at first, but I've grown to love it. It's a very downforce track, so a lot of those turns, like that turn right there, or, you know, like this right-hander that's going to come up, this sweeping right-hander, it's a very downforce dependent corner. So, I mean, if you don't have good downforce, like these race cars can handle this turn pretty well. Like, this is going to be a good one, right? A little too squirrely, had to lift off, and then I didn't get the best exit. But let's see how this next one goes. This is a flat corner, basically. Slight lift off. Woo, boy. See, that was good. Definitely room to perfect. I mean, it was only a good turn, and I've lost 1/10 now. So I'm down 1/10, but I'm way ahead of the Ghost, and I'm still clean at this point. So that's a victory for sure. But yeah, I grow to like this track. It's sort of like a wide open, it's a downforce-oriented track. If you don't have good downforce, a lot of these turns are not going to work well for you. And I like that it's a fast track. I love that. I love these, like, you know, fast corners that you're taking at 120. I absolutely love that. So then Road Atlanta Club is sort of a similar way, but that's always been one of my favorite tracks. I've loved Road Atlanta for years, and that's such a cool track. So that's the second one. So anyway, I'll leave you guys with the rest of it. I don't want to talk over all of it, but thank you guys for being here. Thanks for checking out my videos. I put up a couple recently, some different stuff. I put up some Overwatch, and I put up some Call of Duty World War II. I put up a couple of those recently. So if you're interested in any of that, check it out. There's also a backlog of videos on my channel. I've got a lot of videos on the channel if you want to check back at those. Now, a lot of those are pre-PC days, so they don't have, the mic quality is pretty bad, and there's not really any necessarily editing that I could do on those. So, but anyway, check those out if you want, and I will see you guys in the next one. Appreciate it. Subscribe if you like my stuff, and keep an eye out. See you later, guys.
Looks like you got a new gift. Big, heavy. Well, I think you just got a car for the collection.